Fusion have been the favorite this entire time for the expansion tournament, and people would be very surprised if they didn't make the LCS.
Well, I think it's going to be either way, because people are like, Fusion has a lot of hype. Coast has been a great team for a long time. Like, which one is going to make it in?
And it can only be one.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll see throughout Challenger in spring 2014 if both these guys can make it through, if one of them can do well in Challenge, but we're going to have to see. Zed's still away from HuHi. The cast now also dropped out. I think that's a great choice, and Nintendude will lose his Jarvan. This leads me to believe Impaler's going to first pick Elise. Fusion's going to probably see this and say, well, then we're going to trade you Corki for it.
Well, Lissandra is still up too.
If they respect it.
Lissandra, Corki.
I think you definitely leave Corki up.
Yeah. The Lissandra ban.
You make
a good idea. Now you ban. You take either the Corki. Well, here's the thing: is that
Nien
Tatsu's just gonna play Lucian.
Yeah, I think Nien's okay with that.
I'm looking down at his match history. Lucian, Corki, Corki, Lucian, 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 Corki, Lucian, 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 Corki, Corki.
Yeah, and he's not getting targeted out.
That's it.
Yeah, he's not getting targeted out for it, and that's interesting that no one. Like, they basically they either don't respect Nien's top tier, or they think his champion pool is too deep. It can go either way. I'm actually really surprised to see this. This to me is very awkward that they're actually going for the Rumble Thresh. I didn't think Rumble was. So Rumble is contested here by Cris. Cris will play it definitely, for sure, and they really want to keep that Thresh off of Sheep. But the fact that they managed to give away Lucian and Corki to Coast is surprising to me.
Yeah, you're looking at these contested picks here, and Gleeb, he ends up picking up the Thresh to keep it away from Sheep. But at the same time, like you said, the Rumble contested, but don't know if it's prioritized.
Well, I mean, it is in this case, and to be fair, MakNooN, despite his lots of deaths, was the highest damage to champions player in the last game. He outdamaged everyone else. So.
I don't know if it's prioritized by Coast.
Oh, by Coast.
Yeah, sorry.
It's more like, I don't know if it's so to me, basically what I think it comes down to is contested picks are automatically prioritized.
Yeah.
Corki is not like, Corki and Lucian are both like, you're fine to trade them back and forth, generally speaking, unless you really, really don't want to give someone Corki. Yeah. And then suddenly it's prioritized because it's contested and important. I think the same is true for Rumble, where both would like to play Rumble. And because that's true, you have to pick it first or second round.
Here's the thing, though, is that Cris, he keeps going for things like Maokai. He's okay with playing like a Malphite, Lissandra being banned away. So they are paying some credence to his champion pool. But he's just going to fall back on the Maokai again. Yeah. And Rumble does well against Maokai in the laning phase, but it keeps getting lane swapped on. When Fusion wins a game, it's usually a lane swapped game.
That's true, and I think it does play into their strengths pretty well, though. Honestly, even though you would want to give someone like MakNooN a whole bunch of time to farm up, his mid-game transitions are incredibly strong. He's used to playing without much farm, and you dodge this really strong Coast duo lane that's, admittedly, I think the strongest point of Coast.
I bet if we asked MakNooN if he liked lane swaps, he'd say he'd hated them. He hates them. Because as a top laner, you want an aggressive top laner at that, a carry top laner, you want to have farm. You want to be able to 1v1 somebody and show off your skills, but now you're basically playing against an AD carry and a support, and you sit around and try not to die.
Yeah. And it's true, it is in some ways a waste of MakNoon's talents, but at the same time, he's still making it work despite that. Yeah. I mean, you could also say, look, if you can get a really good top lane and get him to thrive and survive in a duo lane and still come out ahead of the enemy, ahead of the enemy top laner, then hey, your talents are doing something really good for you. You're getting this indirect gold lead here. The rest of the champions do get locked in. A very, very similar team composition for Team Coast. In fact, all they really did was steal away the Lucian and the Corki, and Fusion are going to grab now a LeBlanc for themselves.
The Lucian, Corki, and Morg were all taken away from Fusion and added onto Coast, and their solo lanes.
Oh yeah, you're right. Those were all.
But yeah, their solo lanes are the same, but then they just stole away some of Fusion stuff to make them change their strategy. And
Fusion plays something a little bit different. It's still, honestly, though, at the same time, a very similar situation, right? You've got the same Rumble, the same assassin mid laner. He's going to run around and make these individual plays. It actually does unlock some of their sieging potential because LeBlanc has this sort of unanswerable poke where unless she rocks into a dark binding, she can get some damage down and back out pretty safely. So that is a chance that, the siege can get a little bit better. Of course, going to remake champ select real quick. Looks like we are missing the Fusion support player, but should be back in a second. We're being told that there is a tech problem, so I'm actually going to throw to a quick commercial, and we'll be back very soon with the start of Game 2 here between Fusion and Team Coast. 4 minutes ago, we had to quickly remake the game. Champ select was already repeated. Same picks and bans. We're getting ourselves into Game 2 directly in about a minute. We got 30 seconds left in the champ select that's being done off camera. Again, same picks and bans. For the blue side for Team Coast, Maokai, Elise, Orianna, Corki, and Morgana. For the red side of Team Fusion, Rumble, Elise, LeBlanc, Lucian, and Thresh. So Got a couple of switch champions, a couple of counter picks, a couple of stolen champions, and otherwise just kind of running similar compositions.
Yeah, and MakNooN, he's had actually mixed performances now on the Rumble because he didn't have great performances previously. And I really want to see what HuHi does on this LeBlanc this match. Because before, he's just been a roaming menace on Kassadin, LeBlanc, and Syndra, and now he's back on that champion. He's always going to have one of those available to him. So the 1-3-1 will probably come out again.
Yeah, it just seems to be the style here for Fusion is to really have that, you know, the roaming individual menace, HuHi kind of running around making those individual plays. And the mid game just seems to be their big power point.
Yeah, and he's not going to have as big of a mid game power spike on LeBlanc as you usually do because he's up against Jesiz, who builds Athena's Unholy Grail still.
Yeah.
As opposed to Marilla and Nomicon. So he's not going to have that extra MR.
Yeah, he's not going to have that extra bully potential on the 1v1, but it just seems like these mid-game Dragon fights, and again, you get them by picking up Rumble, even though this team was building so many scaling items in general. Fusion just seemed to be able to win these 6 to 18-minute team fights so convincingly, and that just snowballs a gigantic gold lead where they continue to control every objective, they continue to take down every turret, and until people power up on the other side, their 1-3-1 split push just works because of their stat leads.
Yeah, and their 1-3-1 works, but then when they group up and they try to crack the base and team fight, it's really, really difficult for them. And you saw in that last game that as soon as they broke the floodgate, they just came rushing into the base and they cracked it, shattered, boom. Game was over in about 2 minutes from there. Yeah. Very, very quick turnaround on after getting into the base. But that's their biggest problem is getting into that base. But there's so many tools to do that now. Dragon extra damage, Dragon extra stats.
Elixirs.
Elixirs, exactly.
Yeah. A whole bunch of things. We'll see if Fusion whips them out of the toolbox here and uses them in game 2, but we're going to get ourselves started there. 2 games away. Fusion wins 2 more. They join the LCS. 3 wins needed for Coast to stay alive and make their way in.
Best item for Fusion, Wrecker.
Oh my gosh, I forgot that existed. That'd be so good. Nintendo needs to buy this item. I mean, this is a player who in the LCS played tank fiddlesticks. Like, he was so sure of his own unique builds and, you know, trying things out, whatever. I want to see Wrecker release. I think it'll be good. Early jump in on Impaler, quick shield by Jesiz. Nothing too big happening.
That's typical Orianna start there, so it doesn't affect him too much. He's just got the shield for auto attack, harassment, and trading. Cris caught out a little bit. Wood burns.
Oddly, it's like really well tempered against that. Like a flamethrower against a tree, and Cris is like, I mean, it hurts a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like, you put a flamethrower on a tree, you know, you'll crisp it at the start, and then eventually
that's a good point. Trees actually
takes a while.
Burn that quickly.
You gotta get the branches first.
That's a good point. All right, well, you know what? He's gonna be fine for this one. Just walk back to the fountain, cool off, heal up. He's gonna be okay here. Now, we started this game looking like normal lanes, but now Mash and Sheep running back across the map. I believe Mash and Nien saw each other, and then he went and pieced out. So Team Coast looking for the lane swap here, and they're gonna get it.
That's so crazy. I don't know if they're gonna get it though, because they're walking over wards right now.
Oh. That's a good point. Actually, now Fusion are going to match it as well. So, okay, late invade.
Impaler and Sheep coming in here, but they walked over a ward. They know that they're there. There are 4 members from Fusion on this side of the map.
Oh, this is going to be not good for Coast. Going to walk in from... No. They looked to check double golem to see if people were doing it. That's not the case. Now, can Fusion trap them? If they can cut off Tribrush, this is going to most likely be a kill. But if they walk through lane, they're safe. They go through Tribrush. Suddenly, Gleeb's there. He flash plays in too. Now Impaler's going to have to burn his own flash. No, he just walks out safely. Sheep has burned his flash, though. He has nowhere to go. Can he get a good bind? And Nien now is around. Nice dark bind to keep him safe. Sheep is not taking almost any damage. Summoner heal, ignite burned. And honestly, surprisingly little done by Fusion.
Yeah, it's basically even summoner spell trade, except that Mash blew his heal. But now they have to start this lane. They don't have time to back, and they're stuck in this 2-on-2.
Well, the thing is, though, everyone is down 2 summoner spells in this bottom lane. Gleeb's down both, Mash and Sheep both down 1. MakNooN forced to burn his teleport, though, to get to this bot lane. He will get in time for 90% of his minion wave. And we've started actually a normal game. Fusion looked and managed to match lanes.
So what ended up happening in that invade...
Oh, Impaler. Oh, no.
Ooh.
It reset a little bit. He's fine.
He's fine. He's fine. Just don't do that to me. I live in the jungle. I have dreams about this stuff.
So
dying to red. But what ended up happening is MakNooN, he came out of the bush for a millisecond. Like, he just flashed like no longer gray for just a millisecond. And then Coast just kept running by and ran to the bush and stayed in it because they thought MakNooN was going to wrap around and they were going to get him.
Yeah.
So then the rest of the team of Fusion came up, and there was a nice flash from Gleeb.
That was very well done for these guys. Nintendude, though, of course, on actually a pretty greedy side of the map. I don't know how he realized Impaler had such a bad jungle start. Oh, because he was part of the fight where they pushed him around. Of course, yeah, that makes so much sense. So very heads-up play by Nintendude to say, you know what, he's stuck on the bottom side of the jungle and probably has to recall early because he's definitely getting no leash. Gets a blue buff steal.
Yeah, and he gets the Gromp, too. Like, that's something that you can't be like, oh, it's nothing. There's a lot of experience falling into Nintendude's hands very early on, whereas Impaler,
he only has 2 camps up.
Exactly. He doesn't even have his Krugs up.
And you can, like, let's watch the minimap in the bottom corner. Like, look where Leesen's trying to go. He's like, wait a second, I've got to go towards Wraiths. Okay, those will be up. Then he can do Wolves, and there's, like, nothing in front of him, and he has to go, like, back down to Krugs.
He's not level 3, and he doesn't have his Tempest Cripple. He's going to have to use his Trailblazer Smite on that to
At least that's, like, fairly chill. Like, it's really easy to kill those things off. Yeah, they're all one hit from dead. But look at this bottom lane. Honestly, looking fairly decent for Fusion. It's a 7 CS lead here for Nien.
I'm really surprised they didn't want the matchup there on Coast's side, and they were avoiding it because they had the Morgana counterpick. But here it is. Impaler goes down.
That Trigger Ward's going to see that Blue's been aggroed, but there's no smite. He used it on Raptors. Now, Nintendude's comes up in about 8 seconds. It will be up first as long as he realizes it in time. Impaler's going to try to posture. Nintendude has to wait for smite to come up, but now he doesn't know he has the window, but it's so short.
Cris,
it's almost
has
up.
The inside
about
track.
5 seconds away.
HuHi's coming, though.
Oh, it reset. There's enough time for smite to come back up, though, for Impaler.
But HuHi's here.
Uh-oh, this is a bit risky. Yeah, Impaler, Cris both backed out. 3v2 looks like it's going to be fairly safe, but he can still walk in for the smite. He's going to try. Impaler lands the Q. 700 health, gets it. Nicely done, Impaler.
Big part of that is just the pressure from the other lanes that was being applied. You saw Jesiz push the mid lane so hard. HuHi was pushed off to the side, trying to get to the fight. They disengaged it, and then he had to run back middle to clear the wave, so he actually couldn't apply pressure as LeBlanc and go with the strategy that he had in mind when he started going towards the blue.
And it just all planned out. The weird thing is, if you were like super into the game, Nintendo could have clicked on Impaler, seen how long his his Raptors buff was on, and known the smite timer from that. It's like a lot of math to do in the heat of a moment, but theoretically could have known a smite timer if he was like super paying attention.
No, nobody's going to do that.
Nobody's ever done that in League of Legends, but you know it'd be cool. MakNooN now trying to run away, 300 health on him, but Cris doesn't have any cooldowns or mana left, and suddenly down to 300 health. Nintendude's quite low as well.
He landed the Q.
Q2's going to hit. He's going to go for it. Nice flash. Goes in, gets first blood. Nicely done, Impaler.
So close. Cris has some mana left, but Nintendude has to back off. Really well done by Impaler on that Lee Sin, and that's why you just don't give it to him when he has a team that allows him to play that champion.
And that's the problem, is it's so hard. You have to pretty much guess when Q2 comes out to dodge it by repel, because it comes in so quickly. You oftentimes can't reflex dodge skill shots. And Nintendude guessed early. Impaler saved it. Very easy land on the way back.
Impaler's really good at that. He's really good at holding on to the Q. If you watched his Lee Sin games before, he waits until like he got like Janna Tornadoed or like Thresh Flayed, and then he would take it. He wouldn't take it in the middle of it. He kind of just waits for people to panic, because it's weird. You have like this instinct when somebody hits you with Lee Sin Q, you mentally think
like this internal timer.
He's taking it now. He's taking it now. Now.
Yep.
Now it's like being at a red light and trying to be like, oh, it's
flash force for Gleeb. TP started, then stopped by Cris. Find and miss, so he stomps it. Gonna walk back to the bottom lane here.
Nintendude coming up top. Sheep. The Black Shield has to.
Ooh. Mash walked forwards out of nowhere in that dodge cocoon. Very fortunate there for Mash, but nothing gained at all for Fusion.
And Sheep actually didn't have Black Shield up at that time.
Oh man.
There's about 7 seconds left on that cooldown.
MakNooN level 6 roaming mid though. Jesiz does have a chalice. Actually interesting, Athene's for HuHi as well.
Yeah.
I've not seen that much on LeBlanc.
Yeah, usually you want to just get the Morellonomicon for the power spike.
Yeah.
And it's also cheaper, because basically for the price of an Athene's, you can get a Morello plus
like a
Doran's.
Yeah, or a Doran's, yeah, and you have just pretty much as much mana regen in 4.20.
If not more.
Yeah, potentially. I actually don't want to math on it at all.
You have to use mana to get mana back, because it's a 50% versus 100%, and then it's missing. It's 1.5 if you're missing every 1 second. So it's like.
Well, it's a weird thing because it actually made Athene's work alongside Rod of Ages as like, oh, he's going to stop both recalls. Nicely done. Nien going to give his opponent an awkward recall. That's actually pretty good timing then. Gleeb going to go back to lane pretty safely. Early Moby boots for the Thresh. Will it be the same for Morgana from Sheep?
You would think so, because he likes to roam around the map, likes to match, but no, it is the Sightstone.
Yeah, I think it's actually the right choice, though, just because, again, Thresh is the more roaming of the supports, and so you would kind of expect that to be the champion that makes more plays. It also, though, is Gleeb's playstyle. He was the one going Moby Alacrity on Morgana last game, so it's just his style, basically.
Trying to affect the game in the lanes, and look at this, the dragon is actually being juggled back and forth already. From
the recall of Gleeb, Sheep spots this one out, though. He also roamed to the bottom lane. Very smart play by these supports to recall and go bot lane for Dragon at 9 minutes. As you can see, though, it's still Fusion going for the attempt there. Should be very low chance of stealing, and it is picked up there by the red team. Another good snipe by Nintendu. Dragon number 1 goes to Fusion.
Yeah, at the same time, Nien just went up top. No problem at all. And the fact that Impaler was on the left side of the map, and so was Jesiz, made it a very simple dragon for them to pick up with the vision control.
This is interesting. There's actually a choice to be made here by Fusion's bottom lane, or their duo lane here, and it's do you keep giving farm to the top, or you keep giving farm to the bottom lane. Now, both those AD carries were top side before Dragon started, and Mash made the choice to go bot lane, now that he has Sheen, but there's no Dragon. Now, there's actually a freeze available, which means Fusion could have the time to send anyone to that lane. Oh, hold on, this is going to be a lot of damage. MakNooN down to half health already. Nice flash followed by Sheep. That is a great stun, a great puddle as well. And that will be the kill. The flash is going to do enough damage. Ignite secures it. 2 kills Coast.
And Coast got a lot of the first couple of kills in the first game, too. And the game just kind of got snowballed out of their control during the mid game. I don't know if it's going to be more of the same here because they have to hold on to this. And like you said, they have options available to them now. Nien with the BF sword and just an immense amount of CS early on in the game on this Lucian. But his duel back and forth with Cris, not turning out too well for him.
Cris seems to keep fighting Nien and then realize that auto attack hurt a whole bunch. Nice blue buff steal. Impaler gets that, noting that Nintendo just was not around for this one. So maybe start of the good set of comebacks here for Team Coast. They lose Dragon, but they're getting a lot of other things.
They call out that Jesiz is over at the blue, so HuHi roams top, but he doesn't have a lot of mana.
Very good plays here, but Gleeb is there. It's a 3-man dive. Cris pops ulti early, tries to kill off the minion wave. Very good damage here. Gleeb pulling aggro very nicely. No mana on HuHi, but that is the kill picked up by Nien. So perfect dive there by Fusion.
Yep, Gleeb just standing there with the turret aggro is what allowed them to pick that up, and also they made them pay for that blue buff steal by calling out who was there, and HuHi roamed.
Mid-game has always been the strength here of Fusion. They're doing such a good job of this one. No hesitation at all. He loses the minion wave mid, but that's so worth it there. Big damage onto Impaler. They go back into MakNooN, though. Oh, the kick and shockwave do not synergize. Out goes Impaler. TP from Cris. He's going to have to probably cancel that one as well. I don't know if he's going to get anything. Flash is down. Binding. Nope, not going to happen there for Sheep. Good cocoon. And wasted teleport.
Yeah, that was a 4-man, but the 4 men that got sucked into it were just spiders. So, very poor shockwave, but also Impaler had kicked back at the same time. He's pretty much to disengage.
Oh, no. He's got to be a little bit careful, though. Cris roots him up. Doesn't really care about the damage dealt. It actually goes to Sheep anyway. But MakNooN is in. Half health on the top laner. Goes in pretty hard for Elise. Good play backwards. Kill picked up by Gleeb Glarbu.
HuHi was moving his clone around like it was him and moving himself around like it was a clone.
Nice. I didn't even follow that.
He was cute.
That was great. Nicely done. He's actually taking a lot of damage with his cannon, by the way. He's 2 hits from dead.
Just leave it.
Okay, we're good.
A little micromanagement there. He's very versed in this champion. And the fact that Cris used his twisted advance at the same time just got pulled back.
One thing to point out, actually, when the Athenes was being picked up by HuHi, look at the enemy team. Coast are very magic damage heavy, much like Fusion was over in Game 1. And, the Athenes make sense if you are going to be a target of attention. You're still getting that 25 or so MR that is valuable.
Yeah, both teams are very MR, magic damage heavy.
Well, Flash from Nien doesn't need it because the teleport comes in from MakNooN. There's the culling, and there's a lot of damage. Sheep just immediately drops for just a little bit of attention. Well done. Good teleport, MakNooN.
Yeah, went a little too hard there. Didn't have his flash, and they knew it because he'd used it previously. And here comes the roam around. Sheep on the side. And the mid laners are about to be in a 10-2.
Yeah, but Jess is going to get the inside track. HuHi's got to be a bit careful on this one. Doesn't have an easy way into this fight, but there's a lot of wards here for Fusion that will kind of watch all these invade attempts. Nice pink ward to keep those wards gone, but you're still seeing Coast very hesitant to try to stop this at all. And the turret's almost gone. Nicely done, Fusion. Oh, Cocoon misses. Do they want this? Looks like yes, 4v3, but here comes Sheep. Both top laners stuck topside. Ooh, good flash away, but HuHi now very isolated. Does he have a way out? Gets popped. Nice jump over. He's going to stay safe. Hook does not quite catch. Nice try, Gleeb Glarbu.
Popping the box pretty early, too.
He was so confident the hook would land. He wanted to make sure like the slow landed before Black Shield. Because of the arm timing, like if you box late, Hook times out, you get to Black Shield yourself, you don't get slowed by box. You've got a box like right after Hook gets cast.
That's true. There's the confidence that he had in landing that hook, but the fact that Sheep just kept walking forward. Didn't think he would face check or at least get that close.
Yeah, I'm unsure of if his path changed or anything, but mid lane, the counterattack very nicely done here by Coast. They saw the rest of Fusion forced back, and Coast answer a turret 1-for-1 here.
At the same time, he's just continuing to farm up in all of these lanes. Dragon, the dragon in 1 minute is pretty big because the second dragon of the game is really going to help them help Fusion get themselves to a point where they can just farm easier, push these waves, and I really think that Fusion operate off of dragons, because what if they didn't have dragons in these games and they just keep falling over to Coast?
Yeah, they're not really very turret focused.
It's so hard for them to close things out or even just get into that mid game and run away with it, but the invade coming out.
Impaler's going to get away pretty safely. Pops a ward to do so. Now Nintendo in on Jesiz, a nice equalizer. Finally pops the shield, slowing him down. MakNooN doesn't have health, though, is not going to do too much in this one anymore. However, control is still there over blue buff. HuHi gets it. Nicely done by Fusion. 12 seconds on Dragon. Smite was saved by Nintendude, so it's up if they want it for Dragon.
Yeah, just the bullying of Impaler allowed them to pull that off. But here's Dragon in 5 seconds, and you were exactly right. Saving the Smite because of the timer is the right move by Nintendude.
Difficulty is that he is out of mana, so he is forced to recall before this fight even happens. HuHi has a blue, so that low mana bar is a bit deceptive. He'll get plenty of it back.
Yeah.
Coast, though, inside track. Ooh, good choice. Oh, no, that's a good shockwave.
Oh,
the binding, the flash over the wall. Is it enough? Yes, it is. Beautiful play by Coast.
And that's going to be the blue, also transferring over to Cris, so he's going to have tons of mana for this, no problem. But at the same time, you saw Nintendude back, not Nintendude's for this fight.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I know.
Close. It was close.
That was my turn about like dude. That's your excited noise apparently.
No, that's my like what's happening and
interesting.
Trying to process everything but talk at the same time and think. But
it's really hard to do.
I know it is really hard.
Like walking and chewing gum.
Is that hard?
Thinking
to do?
and talking.
Is that
can't
hard
do
to
both.
Walking and chewing?
No.
Can't?
It's like the age-old multitasking thing, right? It's not hard, but like it's always what I'd heard, like, oh, I can walk and chew gum at the same time. It's like, wow, you're cool.
Good for you. Anyway, they end up getting that dragon for themselves, so it's 1-to-1 here in dragons, which is what Coast needed. That pick was essential, and the fact that they were able to get the shockwave, even though last time HuHi had enough reaction time to use the distortion to get out of it, was not as quick this time. And it cost them a dragon and a kill. And the blue that they invaded for.
Yeah, it did. They lost it right away. Now, of course, it did force blue to go over to Nien Tanso, so kind of suboptimal blue location. HuHi no longer has that at all, just Doran's Ring plus the Athenes. Nintendo going to help with his top lane. They're going to kind of slink on in. Now, does he predict a counter gank, or is he actually trying to dive Cris here? No, but nothing really happening. He's kind of walking around in a very heavily warded area of the jungle, though, so he gets pinged out. He's going to back away. Gleeb Glarbu, though, on roam duty. This is a bit dangerous. He predicts that no one's around, so he's actually safe putting these wards down. Just gets one on the Razor Beaks. Raptors get it eventually, and out he goes.
You just call them something completely random. They're the
owls.
See, the way I remember it
is
because when I kill the Raptors with a smite, I get the vision thing, and I get to sneak up on people as a jungler, and I think of Jurassic Park. Clever girl. That's the
I haven't watched that movie in too long.
Really?
I forget all the scenes.
The part where the raptor comes up behind him and it's like, clever girl.
I honestly forget that.
So I come out of the jungle and I gank people like that.
You say
because I had the raptors.
I just remember the T-Rex eating the guy in the toilet. That's like the iconic scene for me.
You gotta go, you gotta go.
Poor guy. What a bad way to go down, too. Caught with your pants down, literally.
Oh. I don't know why I thought that was a Pantheon ultimate for a second.
I thought too. Elise E, and I'm like, oh god, here comes Jesiz. Nope, not at all.
Nintendude from above.
Well, kind of.
I was like, why is he using it over there? Impaler.
Spider drop. Oh, in comes onto Impaler. A lot of damage, but good Black Shield keeps anything from really happening to him. Good Q as well. And that ward in the brush, actually, Nintendude's like, wait a second, there was a ward here. Goes over to it, it's going to clear that out pretty safely. A lot of culling, nice equalizer. Forces the flash from Jesiz.
Jesiz is like a magnet for these equalizers. And it just lays a path down for him. So MakNooN kind of routing him with those, but he has to walk on them because he takes the best route possible when he throws it down in these last couple of equalizers.
Well, looks like they're going to be okay. And I mean, I guess Jesiz, the champion, is made of metal, so it's pretty obvious he would be a magnet. Yeah,
and if he gets heated up, he just melts.
Yep.
And then he just changes shape forever and he's useless.
She turns into Zac. After you equalize Orianna, she turns into Zac.
It's like a lore thing there.
It says Zac skin. Silver Zac. Melted down Orianna. Or that just she becomes one with the ball. And they can be together forever.
Oh, wow.
Companion sphere. I'm like a worse version of Doa. My terrible skin.
Worse version of Doa.
Alright, Impaler gonna grab the Krugs for himself though. Let's see, he does not have smite. What's up?
I loved that solo cast of Doa. I have to bring that up. His solo cast was amazing.
His solo cast was like the old way to do it, like way back when.
Huge shout outs to Doa, that was great.
He's a cool guy, I like him quite a bit. But we are here in the expansion tournament here. Game 2, very close to be honest. Fusion, they hold the first dragon, but turrets and kills are equal otherwise. Nice shot with that cocoon. Scuttler goes to the red team.
I really like that Cris picked up, at least in this game, the Righteous Glory, whereas last game he went for the Rod of Ages. Because the Rod of Ages, he needed to be an AP threat and magic damage threat. Now they don't need that so much because they have Corki on the team, too. And so, at this point, he needs the movement speed. He needs to get to that backline. He needs people to lock down the Lucian, the Morgana, or sorry, the Lucian and the LeBlanc.
It's interesting, yeah. So I'm going to continue the point I started about Hanser with Curse Academy back in the day. I'm trying to remember what he said properly. So he said basically he switched items from Roa to Righteous Glory because that way he'd be like more unkillable. Like it was back then it was to kill a Ziggs, but now it's a LeBlanc, kind of similar situation. He just wants to be unkiteable against like a squishy mid laner that he can actually pick apart. Unlike a Cassim, which is actually pretty kitey. He's like really good at dealing with this. LeBlanc less so. And he said, yeah, I don't really need the damage in this case. He just really wants to be more disruptive. So I think that logic does follow, where there's actually some more targets for Cris that cannot be evaded if he has this item.
Well, it's extremely potent, too. It's a 60% movement speed to you and your allies. And if people like moving towards enemies or towards turrets for 3 seconds, and then after 3 seconds, it makes an explosion, and it's an 80% movement slow for 1 second. It's only a 60-second cooldown.
Yeah. So you get a lot of chances to jump in on somebody.
And you can also reactivate it early just to pop it.
Right.
So you can just use it as like a Randuin slow very quickly.
Yep. And so Chris's job is definitely providing the extra engage and crowd control here. And there's a lot of follow-up available from Jesiz and Mash. Oh, what a great bind. HuHi's in a bad spot. Shockwave claims the kill, but the nice flash engage. They catch Nien as well. Actually knocked him towards the team, though I believe he dashed away from that properly. MakNooN shows up, and Impaler goes down. 1-for-1 in this fight. Nien still getting high damage output, and Cris will also fall. The re-engage by Fusion makes it a 2-for-1.
So, talked so much about Righteous Glory.
Didn't use it.
Didn't use it.
Oh my god, that hook, though. Mash is...
Oh, he's gonna die. Don't stop, run away.
Yeah, he just like chilled. He was like, well, I'm gone.
Get out of there.
Just kidding.
That's miscalculated.
Well, he was actually staying near Jesiz so that he could potentially get command protect sooner.
Yeah.
I think you actually, like, you want to run near your teammates if you can. Sheep, oh no! What a bind, though. Keeps him alive. Nien just burned heal.
He's got a flash.
I think he underestimated the timing on the bind, though, because he healed for the movement speed, but wasn't able to move for the entire duration of it.
Yeah. Man, that Righteous Glory pickup, though, was something we just spent a lot of time talking about. And then Cris, he ran into that fight. He actually flashed towards Nien, and then he never used Righteous Glory. And we're going to see it again right here. Watch Cris and his positioning here, because they blow up HuHi, and then Impaler's like, all right, Nien, we got this. Instead of he kicks him towards the team. Cris flashes here, and then doesn't use his Righteous Glory to catch up.
Catch him.
Yeah, exactly. And Impaler ended up eating the cocoon, too. So he could have popped it and then gotten to Nien. Yeah. And it would have sped everybody up.
Very different fight if that had happened. Well, unfortunate misplay. You can see some of the players still not quite fully acclimated to the new patch. The note about the items, just everyone's had this situation, right? You have the Zonias, you're like, oh my god, man. I didn't Zonias. I'm so bad at this game.
Shoutouts to Riv last night.
Oh, dear.
Oh.
Cris has had that moment himself.
Yeah. where somebody else on your team has to remind you bought the item.
Yep. I had that with Youmuu's yesterday. I bought it and was like, oh, I lost a duel with Jax with like 50 health left. And I was like, I should have popped that item.
Yep.
It would have been the win. I would have killed the top laner solo.
That's why you can't play support, because everything's activated.
At least those are like easier. Like, I'm actually really good at support actives for some reason.
Well, because you're constantly hitting Sightstone, so you're constantly looking at your inventory to count things anyway.
I think it definitely helps.
So it's kind of like, once you take stock of it and kind of turn that part of your brain on, it stays on for the rest of the game.
I feel like also like being less of a target threat, like, gives you more time to kind of look at the action. Like, you're not trying to like kite with auto attacks all the time. You have like a little bit more time to like look at the battle. And
it's a huge part of your usefulness too. When you have a Mikhails, you're kind of like, okay, Mikhails is here.
I better hit this button.
Yeah, or else it's like, why am I even in this game? What did I do in that
Why did
fight?
I just stop at Chalice? Why spend the 2K to upgrade it? Yeah, that's fair.
And he did take Leandri's this time on MakNooN.
I think that's the right choice. So, on MakNooN.
Hearing you.
Yep.
Hearing your feedback, being like, you know what, Freak's right.
Maybe he just like forgot, like you just like assumed it was bot, and he's like, oh, whoops, I forgot. Oh no, Gleeb face checks a brush really poorly. What a great catch by Mash.
He assumed no one was in there, and here comes Cris, and he goes straight on
and he's gonna get a lot of people locked up. Equalizer though for the re-engage. Is it enough? Looks like yes, Cris will die. He did pop Righteous Glory, but a two-man shockwave keeps Sheep alive. Oh, the cocoon hit though, and HuHi gets a kill. 2 for 1 again. Fusion wins the fight.
Extremely deep play there by Coast. They end up paying for it, and HuHi is able to like wrap around for a little bit of a mop-up.
Oh man, and Jess has got to be careful. This is going to be a mid lane turret going down. Fusion equalizes the turret kills as well. Wow! Mash also caught this. Elise is working. They find Impaler as well.
These cocoons have been right on point, and also HuHi's LeBlanc play.
Yep. Done good.
But seriously, Nien, he's the one who deserves probably the most credit in this game on Fusion's side, because he has really good positioning. Like, his positioning in these fights is fantastic. He kites backwards, gets knocked forward, but then MakNooN with the equalizer makes it so everybody has to peel away. And that's the big part of the fight, is that equalizer, making it so nobody can continue the fight on Nien. They have to kind of abandon Cris, and they just left him there, and then it was the cleanup and the gap closers afterwards.
What's crazy is this game was 3-3 in kills not long ago, and we've had 2 fights in a row that was just 2 for 1s. And it was Coast getting the first kill, continuing in a 5v4, and then losing 2 members. Like, Fusion just finds ways to win actual team fights against literally unfavorable odds.
It's their mid-game power with this team composition and the way that they've been playing it, and MakNooN has had really good equalizers.
Yeah.
And Nien has had really good just positioning on his AD carries of Lucian and Corki.
What a great play. This is a very dead Mash. Nicely done, Gleeb, to make it happen.
Speaking of positioning, right onto Gleeb's hook from Mash.
And now Fusion's in a pretty good spot. Nintendo does have his locket already completed. Got that nice and early. One of the nice things about Elise is you go right in for that one. Actually didn't even go for an enchant yet. He's just getting these good team fight items for his friends.
So like, here's the thing with that is you don't need it, because on Elise you're probably going to build Juggernaut.
Yeah.
And the build up to Juggernaut actually takes a lot of item spaces up in your inventory, because I believe it's 3 items.
Well, it's Kindle Gem plus Ruby Crystal
plus your Trailblazer. So it takes a lot of money. And
we'll that hook though! Great Black Shield.
Yeah, it takes a lot of money, and those things aren't extremely effective for Elise and your team when you're playing around that. Yeah. So your mid-game spike is really reduced if you just rush Juggernaut.
Good flash by MakNooN. Still the flash kick happens, and MakNooN will go down. Great play by Impaler. And now you got to be pretty careful. HuHi kind of stuck in the back lines. Shockwave, though, kited away from. Good job, Fusion. Just the 1 for 0.
3 spider Shockwave.
Yep.
I'm going to count these Shockwaves by spiders now.
24 legs were caught in that Shockwave.
Oh my god. It's like a tornado of legs. Spider legs, though. Yep. That's not that bad.
What do you mean? Spiders have feelings too, okay?
Yes. Yes, they feel extreme.
That's
the thing. No, I'm not even gonna get about.
Jesiz, good dodge on the chain though. He's gonna get away.
Spiders just move creepily. That's the thing for me. I'm not like afraid of spider. Let's stop it, freak.
I was moving my fingers and nothing with the spider. For those of you not watching us,
they move really creepily for me. It's not so much like, oh, I'm afraid of them biting me. It's just like that. It just looks really weird. Anyway.
Fine. You must not like contortionists.
Hopefully they're not Just getting a list of my fears out to the world. Anyway.
Flexible people.
So
Siren is afraid.
Nintendude, hopefully they're not too afraid of him. But he is 2-0-5, and this is a dragon that looks like it's going to go to Coast because everybody else on Fusion is backing right now.
Completely clean by Coast. Well done to them. There we go. Dragon goes to these guys. Now, Fusion had 2, but I believe this is the first one now for Coast, unless I'm misremembering. Could be the second. We'll get confirmation in a second. It is 2 for both. Okay, I was silly. I thought I saw 2, but I thought I was lying to myself.
Yeah, it's 2 for both.
All right, so yeah, both teams now have bonus minion damage as it is 4.20, and that bonus 8% AD and AP. So equal parity here. Fusion does hold a 4,000 gold lead, though, from their team fight and turret wins. This would put them in the driver's seat. However, map control right now seems to be going a little bit more Coast's way.
HuHi has that Rabadon's death cap completed. He is ready to blow people up. And if you look at the item spike differences between the two AD carries, Nien is way ahead. He's almost 100 CS up over MASH.
Oh man, he's destroying him item spike wise as well. 3 completed items there for the spike. No eye edge done yet for MASH, which is a pretty big deal. He's going to need that to be a good damage threat.
And look at that sheep. He's going to go for the Zhonya's Hourglass to try to help engage these fights.
Teleports are coming in though. This could be a very strange battle though. Coast locked outside their own base. Fusion pushing in for the inhibitor. This is one way to push a game in.
Yeah, the fact that they have them on the outside. Fusion, they'll solve their problem pretty easily, but Cris goes for Nien.
All right, Cris going to lock one up. MakNooN going to pop the equalizer, then pop on out. Jesiz goes down, and so does Cris. 2 for 0. This is a very good start for Fusion. Back in the go for the inhibitor turret. 30 minutes in. This is looking nice.
Here's the thing, is they're going to crack this base so early on, and they're going to get an inhibitor for it as well because they have so much physical damage.
Wow, absolute map control now here for Team Fusion. What a great way. What just great out positioning. They pushed down mid immediately. You saw it about 20 seconds ago. They blew a bunch of quota just to kill the minion wave faster. They got the inside track. The teleport came in early by MakNooN to make sure they had the 5v5. And now they're even rushing down for Baron.
Impaler is up. I don't know what he can do about this because it is just melting down off this consistent damage that this team offers.
Teleport's coming in though.
There's 2k HP.
Cris and Sheep won it. Nicely done though. Baron is picked up. No smite used. Cris comes in. He will find himself Nintendude, but it is still a Baroned up Team Fusion. 1 for 1 so far. Make it a 2 for 1. Coast are getting some kills here, but they're trading back and forth constantly. Looks like 2 kills to both sides. Baron's still worth it though.
Nien is just shredding through everybody on this team. He doesn't need a Last Whisper 3rd item because there is no armor on this Coast lineup. He melts through Cris, and he melts through everybody on this lineup. Cris dove him in not that previous fight, but the one before it that allowed them to get that turret. And he's just like, oh, you're Maokai with no armor, pop, 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 and he's gone. Now he gets a Last Whisper ahead of the curve. He has so much. Like, watch this. HuHi blows up Jesiz, but meanwhile, Nien is like, oh, yeah, you have no armor. Let's crit a Maokai twice for 900 combined, and he's just off the field immediately. And HuHi with the completed death cap spike immediately bursts out Jesiz, and that is all she wrote in that fight.
And that's so just well done by Fusion. They created a fight full of chaos, things that both Lucian and LeBlanc thrive in. Beautifully done, made a whole bunch of work here. And my God, 4-item AD carry 32 minutes in is not something you can handle.
Versus
a cloth armor.
2-item.
You have 2 Zhonyas and a cloth armor. That is the net armor defensive stats from Team Coast. Not the happiest here. It's a field day for Nien.
Yeah, and also the fact, like, no Frozen Heart. Nothing's going to slow his attack speed. He's perfectly fine there. No big bruisey armor tank because they've been trying to counter build the double AP of Fusion. And in the double AP composition, and you get a fed AD carry, that's actually almost ideal.
It is. It really is. It's very well done. And I can't fault Cris for trying to not die to the AP champions, but you're right. It's giving Nien so much room to work with. 6 kill lead, 2 turret lead, dead inhibitor, bottom lane now the focus. And Fusion, I think rightly so, grouping as 5s to make sure this is a very clean push because mid lane is going to pull attention on its own.
Exactly. They crack the base. They have the Baron buff up. They have the dragons to start just pushing these minions so quickly. And when they get to these turrets, Nien just shreds them.
Down goes the turret. 9,000 gold lead. Now, how well can these guys hold on to this? Because I don't feel like there's as much threat that...
It's going to go down so quickly when they actually get to it. Cris finally had to back. Home guarding in, but he still has no armor. That is the big part of this team, is they have no armor to deal with the 7-0-1-5 hundreds.
Oh my God. Yeah, Zhonya's pop, Jesiz. There's the equalizer. Doesn't do very much, though. It does buy him a little bit of time.
For a minion wave.
Yeah, here is the wave. Now, can they do enough of that when Jesiz is going to stay around in this battle? Nice hook onto Cris. Can they do the damage? No, he W's out. There comes Sheep, but everyone's going to disengage from this one for the most part. Two-man stun comes in, but there goes the Morgana. Two-man shockwave doesn't matter. Nien is too tanky with that Bloodthirster. First minion wave comes in. MakNooN is going to get away just barely with a couple of shields. 1-for-0, and next wave. Oh, man! Down goes Impaler.
Immediately burst out there by HuHi, and now the minion wave is back, and they're going to continue this push. Much more successful game, and also their super minions already on the base.
Oh, this is going to be inhibitor number 2 and likely the game as well. 12 seconds on the Morgana respawn. They could go for the next turrets right now. They secure the inhib instead, though. Now, do they feel safe? 2 members are very injured. This is, remember, the new Baron buff. There's no extra regen here, so those health bars will stay low. And Fusion, as a result, are going to play a little bit more safe. They're going to look for the minion waves that they can kill off, but they do not want to get themselves into a fight against full health enemies.
And they're going to go for this turret. They have a lot of damage, a lot of consistent damage. Whoa!
There's the flash. HuHi can't quite catch it, but you know what? It's going to buy enough time for another turret to go down. Inhibitor number 3 likely to fall as well. Now, will they stay for more minions? No, they're first going to have to disengage. Nintendo gets exploded. There's the damage we were talking about. He is an injured man, but Inhib 3 goes down. In comes Impaler. Can't find a kick.
They just want to disengage this and get out of there. 3 inhibs down is just a death sentence this early on.
Cris wants it, though. They find a couple more kills, and actually buying some time is one of the best things that Coast can do for themselves. Remove the champions, have time to yourself and your minion waves to clear the stuff out of your base.
Coast can't really do anything either. They're just reserved to clearing these minions out that just took out a turret by themselves, even though Dragon is up.
Oh, man, nothing to be done. Yeah, Fusion lost 2 members. MakNooN is at 1/3 health, and they're like, we get 3 minutes objective. No big deal. They're stuck in the base. It's true.
So Fusion, with their support staff, just cracking the base so early. Not only, like, it's the same thing too. They actually took the base faster once they got in than they did last game with just an immense lead. And once again, at that 10K gold lead, they just seem to have problems closing the game. But this game seems to be a different story.
Well, that's one of the things that I think it was specifically the LeBlanc pickup did for them.
Yeah.
Well, it's 2. It's Nien having...
806 helps.
Yeah, so his ulti does so much damage because he's so fed. He can basically poke to kill an entire champion by just landing a full killing on someone like Jesiz. Also, because HuHi has ways of dealing massive damage from over a wall, they're actually able to remove people from the defense. This is the tower dives they were trying to do last game that wasn't working with Rumble and Kassadin, does work with LeBlanc. And so the same moves work with these champions.
And just rushing up the mid lane. They don't have Baron anymore. Inhibitor respawn in mid. They have their eyes set on this. They also have their eyes set on just one more tower in the game standing for Coast. And HuHi, he wants kills.
Well, he's going to get at least the inhibitor kill for himself and the rest of the team there. I believe Elixir of Ruin is there for the Elise. That's what that glow, I'm pretty sure, is. Red Elixir over there on the Nien, and this team is pretty happy. Look at that. The culling popped, and the tank is down to 1/3 health. From no risk at all. Sheep nearly 1 hit from dead as well. That was a full combo coming out there. Equalizer comes out, zones the team away. Jess is very screwed. Shotgun doesn't come out in time. There's a hit number 3 one more time. Minions will be flooding into the base soon from that bot lane, and they're already there from the mid, though. This will be GG. Game 2. Fusion need 1 more to join the LCS.
Huge part of this. HuHi on LeBlanc. Assassin roaming. Nien with that great scoreline and positioning. And MakNooN showing up in those mid-game team fights. You see how excited they are.
Yeah, dude, that was a no-look high five from MakNooN, by the way. He was just like, yeah, we know we got this. Hits it there with Nintendo. Nintendo had actually a bigger smile than MakNooN, but business as usual, really, for the Korean players on this squad. And all right, Coast says, guys, we've come so far. We expected to make it all the way. They had started up pretty good, right? They won game 1 against Curse Academy, then lost 3 straight. They took down Final 5, but now suddenly Team Fusion stands in their way, and they've lost 2 straight to start this one out.
I feel like Team Fusion, the fact that they are able to change these like really big problems in their, not just their drafting phase, but also like how they play the game out. Like they've been winning games without like relying on their old strategies, but when they fix it, they seem really scary.
Yeah, and it's a couple things going on here. So it's one, like, Fusion the slow starters.
Yeah.
And certainly the very, very early game actually is very good by Coast. Coast does a good job punishing. They've gotten first blood both times. Frequently, actually, off of, like, Dragon takes, which is very interesting. Coast does a good job of punishing. And Coast are playing pretty smart in this one. However, the mid game just goes so darned well for Team Fusion that they seem unstoppable. And then also, again, what they said before the games even started is Fusion said, if we win game 1, we're going to 3-0. Because they think they're just going to completely emotionally shatter Coast. And to be fair, Coast looked worse than they did in game 1.
Oh yeah, a lot worse. They seemed all over the place. The fact that they took 3 picks away from Fusion, and Fusion were able to kind of change it around and actually have a better performance with the composition they drafted for themselves. Yeah. More mid-game focused, more power in the part that they excel in, and they ended the game pretty much mid-transitioning into late game for them around that 33, 34, 5-minute mark.
Yeah, and it's just such a good play by them to actually go for the throat at that 30-minute mark. When you have a gold lead, like, 30 minutes is when usually a second item comes into the build for an average performing team. So a 2-item spike is like, it's pretty good. Like, okay, you've got like Bloodthirster plus IE or like IE plus 24. So that's nice. But if you're ahead, that third item multiplies your damage by so much. Like that Void Staff or the Static Shiv plus now the Bloodthirster. It's just such a big edge that you are ridiculously far ahead. And like those battles are very easy to win. And that was the timing that Fusion went for all those really big pushes that they went inside the base. I think very well executed, a very strong game by them. Game 3, I don't think is going to be any different from these guys. Fusion looks like they're going to 3-0 this.
Yeah, and a big part of that is Nien. Like his performances on his AD carries have been very crisp. His positioning has been really good in this set, despite being the main target for them. They keep trying to get to Nien in that back line, and then it's like, oh, you ignored our other threats? Well, they're going to operate from flanks, from the side. They're going to go after your backline, and they just deal with it faster.
And that's what's done so well for Fusion is everyone on that team seems to be a very legitimate threat, either by playmaking or by killing people by themselves. So Fusion, guys, 2-0 in the best of 5. One more game to become the 10th and final team to join the North American